1. One evening when I was 15 years old, I was at home alone. My brother was at football practice. My mom and dad had just left to go out to eat dinner. I decided I wasn't hungry enough to warrant going out with them, and settled for them just bringing me home takeout. My parents hadn't been gone longer than 10 minutes. I was sitting in the living room on my laptop, when suddenly I heard the sound of a car door slam. I glanced at the clock in surprise because I knew there was no way my parents were back this early, unless they forgot something and turned around. So I set my laptop down and got up to go investigate. I gently pulled one singular blind down to peep out the bay window in the kitchen that overlooks our driveway. It's twilight outside, though it's nearly dark, but still enough natural light hanging in the sky from the sun that I could make out a 4-door car, not my parents', parked alongside the flower bed at the top of our long driveway. It has shrubs and trees that you could park on the either side of and have trouble noticing a car behind them. As my eyes rested on the car, I saw 3 men, I'm assuming they were all men because of their size and stature, wearing all black, masks concealing their faces, all exit the car together and start advancing toward the house. One branches off to cover the front yard and thus the front door, the second branching off to go behind the house, which leads to the back door that leads into our garage, which leads into our house. The third guy, however, was cutting across the yard headed to the side door, the one I was currently standing next to. I snapped my head back and let the blind fall back into place, my heart doing a flip. I took a split second to process where I planned to hole up inside of the house so I would have the best chance of escaping. I chose my parents' bedroom because it's right on the main floor, right off the kitchen, and right past the black corridor that leads to the garage. I knew it was also a risky place to be, given it had 2 doors right outside their bedroom, that 2 of the 3 seen villains were currently headed. But I wanted to hear and know where my opponents were the moment they entered the house. I nearly ripped their bedroom door off its hinges when I grabbed it and slammed it shut to lock it. I leapt across their bed and grabbed the phone and frantically started calling my parents. I called them first because I figured they'd be right down the road and would turn around and make it to the house in time of these creeps getting in. When they didn't answer, I dialed my cousin who lives up the road 2 houses from me. Again, because of the same reasoning of if he's home, he'll get here quickly. During all this, my frantic, panicked mind didn't even think to dial 911. Stupid, I know. I finally got my cousin to answer, as I started to hear bangs at the doors outside the bedroom. I knew before my cousin suggested that I need to arm myself in case they got into the house before he got there. I threw the phone down and took a deep breath before I swung the bedroom door open, knowing I was going to have to muster the courage to make a mad dash across the kitchen to grab the biggest butcher's knife we owned, passing the doors on the way. As I passed by the narrow corridor that leads to the door connecting the garage and the house, I couldn't help but glance over to the door, which had a window. There I saw the man who chose to break off towards the back of the house. He had broken into the garage via the side door that leads from the outside to inside our garage. He was in my garage and staring at me just a couple feet away. With only a flimsy pane of glass between us, my heart felt like it cut off. I have never had such a narrowing sense of dread in my life. I quickly whipped my head back towards the kitchen and bolted to the other side of it, throwing myself into the drawer and tearing through it to grab a knife. As I raced back towards my parents' bedroom, I could hear the man at the other side door banging on it, and I could hear a guy banging at the front door, but no noises from the guy at the garage door. In that moment, I didn't care about anything but barricading myself in my parents' bedroom until I heard my cousin's truck. To this day, I'll never know what happened, but by the time my cousin got there, not even 2 minutes after I initially called him, those guys were gone, without a single trace. I didn't hear their car doors slam as I did before. I didn't hear an engine crank. Nothing. But when I heard the familiar sound of my cousin's truck rush into my driveway, I mustered the courage to peek out of my parents' bedroom. I noticed none of the doors were open, or had been forced open. When I realized I could safely come out, I went outside and found nothing. Cops had been called sometime during this. I assume my cousin called them after hanging up with me. And I remember vaguely standing there, frantically shaking with butcher's knife still in hand. The cops, I could tell, were confused and possibly didn't even believe my story. In that moment, I even started to question it. I know what I saw, I know what I felt. The terrifying knowledge that someone was after our house. The paralyzing fear of knowing that you are about to experience hand-to-hand combat with a criminal. The heart-dropping, adrenaline-surging rush. All of it. It was real. Those men were there, and for whatever reason I will never know or understand, after the guy in the garage saw me, they decided to book it out of there. Maybe they didn't realize I hadn't left with my parents, and had been scoping the place and thought we had left. Maybe they didn't want to commit the crime with someone home because they thought it would make too much extra trouble. Maybe they were fathers and couldn't stand the thought of harming a child. To this day, the reasons as to why they chose to leave me peacefully are what haunt me just as much as the event itself. Either way, to the 3 men who bum-rushed my house when I was 15, directly after my parents left, let's not meet ever again. 2. Okay, I just recently got a job at Subway in my area. I enjoy it very much, but there was one guy I didn't like one bit. It was my first day, and I was about 2 hours into training. Everything was going fine, but an older gentleman walks in. I walk up to the bread section and say, "Hi, what can I get for you?" I smile.
"Oh, you have such a beautiful smile."
Thank you. Now, I am very awkward when people compliment me, especially people I don't know. I was clearly uncomfortable. Along with this man was in his 40s or 50s. He was a taller, skinny man. He had a short, stubbly gray beard and a baseball cap. He wore very baggy and decently clean clothing. Here's the weird part. I was trying to get my own lunch, and he was the customer who came along when I was about to go eat. Being the person I am, I decided to help him first. Obviously, my coworker wanted me to go eat, and she said she'd take over. Here's what transpired. "Hey, Purple Jewel 12, go eat, I have this." "Thanks." I go to walk off when...
"Wait, I thought she was taking my order."
Gesturing to me. "She's going to lunch."
"Oh."
I had already made my sandwich, so I went out into the dining area to eat it. The whole time I was in the man's view, he was watching me, never taking off his gaze until he paid or I was out of his sight. He eventually left, and I thought it was the end of it. But come to find out, he found my social media. My uniform has my name tag, which is only my first name. Unfortunately, my Facebook profile says I work at Subway. Because of this, you could easily filter it and find me. My profile has my Instagram plugged into it. I was at the Outback eating dinner with my family, when I come home to a spam of likes and comments by an account named IDFK anymore 77, which is now deleted. He messaged me at 6:08 p.m.
"Damn, you're hot."
Heart eyes.
"I go to school with you. I notice you a lot, but I'm just a nerd, so no one knows me. Hello?"
"Hey, I was out to dinner. Who are you exactly?"
"I can't say."
"Why is that exactly? Do you think I'm going to judge you? I'm not an asshole like most think."
1, I'm extremely shy. That's why I made a rando account. 2, my intentions aren't really the best.
The whole time I'm talking to my friend about it. "What are your intentions?"
"Well, I'm kind of looking for a sexting buddy. Like, friends with benefits."
"Okay, who are you?" "I'm not going to continue this conversation if you don't tell me who you are. At this point, I'm tired of this secret shit."
"My name is Justin."
"I know like 2 Justins. What's your last name?"
"You don't know me. My last name is Gahill."
Now, yes, I'm saying the real name, but my friend and I looked everywhere, even on school accounts. There is no Justin Gahill. It was a fake name. Okay, so you decide to make a random account just to ask me to be friends with benefits. Why do you think I'd do that?"
"Yes. I don't know. I'll go now."
"Is there a rumor or something?" "I've been dealing with rumors about me for the past 2 years. It's annoying. I wouldn't be surprised if someone was saying I wanted a fuck buddy. I know people call me a slut, but are people saying I'm friends with benefits with all these guys? Be honest."
No rumors, I swear. I just thought it was worth a shot. And you're not a slut."
"In all honesty, you'd have a better chance of just talking to me normally."
"I'm new to this stuff."
"I don't fuck every person I meet, like most. Piece of advice, don't ask every girl to be friends with benefits just because you want someone. You have a way better chance to be friends with them and eventually getting into a relationship."
"Thanks, I'm sorry for wasting your time."
"You're not wasting my time. Here, just talk normally to me at school. I'd be down to be friends with you. Okay?"
"Okay, you're extremely nice."
"I try to be. My friend and I looked everywhere we could and find nothing. I understand this may be two completely different people, but it seems too weird not to be connected somehow. I just thought I'd share this. Thanks for listening. 3. 2012 had a rocky start for me, to say the least. And had I known at that time that I was going to be using my junker project car to save my life from someone I had hardly known, but who had been in my life for almost 13 years, I might have spent less time reading about and working on 3D art and more time out working on the car or my own fitness. I, however, felt that having finished high school single and spent the following 5 years on failed dates, maybe once a year, that there was absolutely no reason to think anyone would want me around or to bother me, as I was a monster just under 280 pounds. Rob and I had become acquainted through school, as far back as elementary school, but I had never really gotten to know him, often helping him out with bullies and such simply because I couldn't stand watching. I wasn't popular, pretty much everyone including the outcasts left me alone. Even Rob did till late middle school, and it wasn't hard to see why. I always looked about ready to kill someone, and when I wasn't, it usually meant I had fallen asleep in class. After graduation, as far as I was concerned, everyone moved on with their lives and grew up. You know, got jobs or died young partying, as word came up from time to time through social media. Rob's parents had apparently moved to Australia for 3 years and left Rob with the house. His uncle moved in to help with upkeep and bills and such. Rob himself had developed schizophrenia at some point shortly after graduation, brought to light by the passing of his grandfather. I wish someone had been able to tell me any of the above before he tried to drag me into hell with him. I would run into him from time to time at the mall or Walmart or GameStop, just regular places that didn't seem odd at all. For me, talking to him was somewhat of a break from my fairly boring life. This was the way of a small town. Rob had become a big guy, well-balanced in weight and height compared to the majority of our school years. His self-esteem was still shot, and he would always ask if I wanted to go drinking, but as conversations went on, would also ask if he could help me out with anything. He always asked these two things if we talked, no matter how short the conversation was. I always declined. At first I thought he had outwardly started acting bi or gay and had taken a liking to me, so I avoided him whenever I could. I was bad at getting a date, and I'm straight. So turning down a guy wasn't exactly in my mindset anywhere. Spring of 2012, I went to a car meet to show off my new prize. Rob was there, but something was wrong. This was 2 states away from home, and he didn't own a vehicle yet. Looking back, it seems odd just how I knew this was off so soon, and how my gut told me trouble was brewing. He didn't approach me, though. He did watch, giving glances on occasion from where he stood. Before the meet ended, I decided I'd say hello, at least to be polite, and see what he was up to. In a voice that clearly was not his, almost as if his mind had been someone else altogether, he said, "That was fucked up, you know, and it's not going to be the last mistake either, I'll bet." My head fell to my right shoulder and my face locked into confusion. "What?" I said hello. "Hello," he mimicked in the same voice again. I turned away and brushed it off as him being childish. Maybe someone had already pissed him off and he was just venting. Oh well, not my problem. The meet ends, and I'm easily the 3rd or 4th one out. Rob had been sitting in the passenger of some Dodge Charger and looked to now be watching the owner, waiting tiredly to be taken home. Skip ahead a few weeks, another meet. I show up late after getting off work late. I'm going to see a restored Ford Falcon that this guy on the forums I joined has been posting progress pics of. There's a small standing around the car. That's not the owner, it's Rob, and he's looking dead at me as I walk up. He waits till I'm walking by him around the front of the car and lightly open-handed pushes my shoulder to get me to look back at him. The second I do, that mocking voice from the last time comes from him again. "Mistakes, mistakes." I'm losing my nerve because the voice doesn't sound to be a threat, but when I ask him what his deal is, it seems like I suddenly stop existing again. There's a guy next to me now, Travis. I know him because of his truck, you just can't miss it, the paint job's so out there. He's out of his head, just ignore it. It's not the first strange thing he's said tonight. Travis seems to have caught the look on my face and is trying to help, I guess. The evening ends. Everyone leaves but me. I stick around to enjoy the night sky and cool breeze. I'm in an empty lot, on a mountainside for at least another 40 minutes before I finally leave. There's a Falcon about 20 or so miles back down the road towards the town. It's sitting on the shoulder, blinkers on, and Rob and the owner are both leaned on the car, looking entirely bummed out. It's ran out of gas, and they've both just finished arguing about whose fault that was. I offered to give them a lift to go get gas. The owner instead hands me a canister from the trunk and some money, insisting that they both need to watch the car, as no chances I'm letting anything happen to it. As I leave, I hear them get on each other's case, and could almost swear for the first time ever actually hear legit anger in the otherwise depressed normal voice of Rob. I return to them. The owner is sitting in the car's driver's seat in a huff. Rob quickly grabs the canister from me and waves me off in an almost disgusted fashion. Maybe I should have taken the hint that Rob's mocking and such were a mental issue, but for whatever reason I keep thinking it's just some misplaced anger. "Guys, you sure you won't need any more help?" I ask. The owner starts to speak, but is cut off when Rob whirls on his heels from filling the tank, and in a rage-filled scream says,
"Always helpful, but never when needed. Always a mistake. We don't need you."
I'm not about to fight with him or let him get any closer to me. Fighting Rob would be about the dumbest thing I could do. I was out of shape. He, on the other hand, was just a big guy, not muscular, but tough enough to take me out without a second thought. I wouldn't go to another car meet for a month, however. It would be far from the last time I saw Rob. These next 2 visits would leave me helping him get home, and the other running away from him with a dislocated shoulder. I'd been out in town getting some supplies to build a new desk for my home office. On the way home, I had come across a gold Corolla sitting half on the road, its front end blown apart by an impact with a deer. And, never too far from predictable with my luck, Rob. He was down and clearly had been crying, sitting in front of his now totaled car, holding his keys, mumbling about how bad his luck was. I didn't recognize him at first, and when he saw it was me who had pulled up beside his car, his face turned from sad into a broken joy, clearly still broken, but relieved. As he walked up to my window, the tow truck he had called showed up. He sternly asked for a lift home after he directed me there, and I dropped him off. The ride was silent, aside from directions. He got out with a painful sigh and thanks, and went into a house where no lights were ever turned on, and I left. I had rented a small car garage to work in, to be away from home so my family couldn't distract me from my work, and so I could study my car as I was using it for a reference to a 3D model I was making. It had been 2 months since I had last seen Rob or gone to a car meet, and summer was having a fit of heat wave, so instead of sitting at the computer, I was under the car doing minor repairs like a brake job. The only people who should have had any idea where I was or what I was doing would have been my parents, and the shop owner, Tom. However, when a hand gripped around my forearm and yanked me out from under the car where I had been trying to undo a caliper bolt, the last person I ever expect to see was Rob.
"It's always your fault,"
he said loudly and angrily, face to face with me as I tried to jerk free and get to my feet. In a moment, getting to my feet would be the least of my worries. Rob had hoisted me up to my feet and raised a clenched fist.
"They always tell me it's your fault."
He swung around with his right fist, his left hand still firmly grasped to my forearm. Seeing his fist all ready as he swung, I jumped. It did little to help as the full blow went straight into my kneecap, and the force from me jumping caused him to stumble, sending both of us to the ground. I attempted to kick up to my feet once more, my right arm now held behind me in his grip from how we had fallen. Bad idea. I got up all right, but my force against his grip not only forced me back down, it had dislocated my shoulder. Pain was now screaming its way through my entire right arm, and I yelled out, which caused him to let go. He kicked me in the back as he got to his feet, and reached for the jack nearby, swinging it on the ground at me as I rolled clean under the car and to the other side, getting to my feet.
"You're not! I can't! No! You'll make more mistakes, more trouble! Stop! Stop! Stop!"
he yelled, and rushed around the side of the car, blocking my attempt to run out the open bay door. Rob had the wrench I was using in his hands now, and was just standing there, enraged, glaring me down. I wasn't some pro fighter, but I wasn't going to waste time being chased around the car either. No more thinking. I ran at him and jumped, tossing all of me into him. Being overweight paid off, with its one and only benefit. My weight knocked him down again and sent me tumbling over him towards the bay door. I got up and busted out the door in a sprint, as the wrench flew by me, clashing against the asphalt. And I heard Rob yelling and running after me, but he tripped. And I glanced for only a moment as I made my way to my project/junker car. I got in and turned the key. It turned over. Rob had got up and was coming at me, bending to grab the wrench again as he did. I turned the wheel hard and floored it. Vroom. It hit him waist level, and I slammed on the brakes, watching him bash against the hood and fall back onto the pavement, this time staying down, groveling in pain. Kicking the door open to make room, I frantically started trying to reach my phone in my right pocket with my left arm to call the cops, and to the best of my ability started running towards the owner's home. The yelling had caught Tom's attention, and he had seen everything that happened outside of the garage. He was already on the phone with the police, and after reaching me, stayed between where Rob lay and where I sat until they arrived. After a hospital visit and a very fun session of let the interns do it, the police stopped by and informed me that with Tom's statement and my injuries, it was clear what had happened. They also went on to tell me that Rob had recently been suspected of trying to attack another person, and had in fact beaten the Ford Falcon's owner the night I saw them. I have never seen Rob since then, and to the best of my knowledge he is currently being held in a mental institution, somewhere in Pennsylvania, close to the family he has left there in the US. I don't think there's some lesson I can give here or an explanation outside of his mental condition. All I would like to say at the end of this is, fight no matter what, even if it seems hopeless. Fight. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 407. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. Okay, by now, if you look, those of you who are Patreon supporters, you will find a link on Patreon to the True Scary Stories archive. We're up to 403. I will try to add the up to 407. I'll try and get the glitch one caught up as well. At some point this week, I'll try and do it this weekend. I've got them all prepped. Everything's up there. I didn't do it sooner because I was going to re-record them, the earlier ones, but I thought, you know what, if I just put the originals up, saves me a lot of time, and you can kind of see how I've grown as a narrator as well, so there is that. But if you would like me to re-record them, yeah, just let me know and give me a bit of time and I will do it. Okay, and with that I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.